All right, let's jump right into this explainer and cut straight through the endless noise about what it actually takes to build lasting wealth. We are constantly bombarded with conflicting advice on how to get ahead, right? But today, we're going to deconstruct the actual systems and philosophies of self-made millionaires. We're breaking the whole thing down into the myth, the mechanics, and the mindset.
I mean, it's a serious question. The internet is literally obsessed with these extreme morning rituals. We see influencers constantly pushing 4 a.m. alarms and freezing ice baths like there's some mandatory entry fee for financial freedom. But we're going to take a hard look at whether these habits are actually driving success or, if they're just serving as elaborate, highly marketed procrastination. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the morning routine myth, then explore finding your productivity leverage, look at essential habits for success, dive into the wealth mindset, and finally wrap up with designing your life plan.
Section 1. The morning routine myth. Escaping the 4 a.m. hype.
Take a look at the sheer contrast in the advice we get. On one hand, you have this exhaustive, zen-like 2-hour ritual featuring dream recall, cold therapy, and, brain tea. On the other hand, you've got entrepreneur Alex Hormozi's ultra-pragmatic simplicity. Wake up, drink coffee, get to work. Hormozi essentially argues that relying on a massive 15-step process just drains your mental energy before the actual real work even begins.
But when you actually distill down the most grounded advice from various millionaires, the real common denominators of a successful morning, they're about clarity and consistency, not intensity. It's not keeping your phone away so the outside world doesn't dictate your very first thoughts. It's doing a bit of movement just to wake up the brain, reviewing specific goals, and grounding yourself with loved ones. It's absolutely not the specific, complex ritual that makes you wealthy. It's just the discipline of starting your day with intention.
Section 2. Finding your productivity leverage, doing more with less. Okay, so let's redefine a buzzword that gets thrown around way too much: productivity. The absolute crucial point here is that true productivity isn't just about doing a bunch of things quickly. It is all about maximizing your leverage to get the highest possible return on your time. If you do a tiny bit of work and get a massive result, you have high leverage. Building a team, writing a piece of software, high leverage. Clearing out your inbox all morning, very, very low leverage. So you really have to ask yourself a tough question. Is your elaborate morning routine or your super busy daily schedule actually helping you perform better? Or is it just a convenient excuse to avoid tackling the hard stuff? Sometimes we unconsciously add tasks that aren't actually real work just so we can feel productive, while we are entirely avoiding the high-leverage actions that actually move the needle.
Section 3. Essential habits for success. The systems of the wealthy. Let's move past the morning and break down the non-negotiable habits that self-made millionaires actually practice all day long. Notice how entrepreneur Dan Martell organizes these into 2 very distinct buckets: people habits and system habits. Success requires mastering both. You need the interpersonal skills, like talking to strangers to build your network or actively asking for brutal feedback, but you also need fierce personal accountability systems. You've got to measure everything, because what you measure expands, and you have to default to courageous action even when you're terrified. And that brings up a really important realization. Managing your calendar is actually about guarding your energy, not just your time. Martell makes a great point that just grinding out 100 hours a week only leads to burnout. You absolutely must prioritize the tasks with the most leverage, the money-making projects, first thing in the morning. Get that heavy lifting done when your peak energy is at its absolute highest.
Section 4. The wealth mindset. Philosophy over paycheck.
Let's elevate this from daily tactics to high-level philosophy now, because as the legendary Jim Rohn taught, the way you handle your money is a direct reflection of how you think. Income is just the tool. Wealth is the result. This is such a powerful distinction. It reminds us that a high salary does not equal wealth. People confuse the two all the time, right? You can earn a 7-figure income and still live paycheck to paycheck if your philosophy is broken. Income is merely the seed. True wealth is what you actually manage to keep, nurture, and grow. Just think about this number for a second. $50,000. Picture a guy making $50K a year but spending every single dime to fund his lifestyle. Now compare him to someone making just a fraction of that, but who is actively saving, investing, and delaying gratification. Fast forward a decade, and the modest earner has built vastly more net worth. It is literally not about the size of the paycheck. It's about the financial discipline applied to it. The reality is, working harder, it has a hard ceiling because your hours are finite.
your energy is finite. Labor creates income, sure, but capital creates wealth. To truly build prosperity, you have to train your money to earn, compound, and multiply, all on its own. Bottom line, your money needs to work harder than you do.
But as you start managing your money, you've got to watch out for this trap. As Rohn says, don't major in minor things. Focusing obsessively on clipping pennies, skipping small coffees, and just agonizing over tiny savings, while completely ignoring the high-impact actions like learning new skills, expanding your network, or making bold investments that will keep you completely stagnant. You have to channel your energy into the major levers of growth.
We've also got to realize wealth isn't just about what's in your head. It is heavily, heavily influenced by who you're surrounded by. The expectations and ambitions of your circle matter. If your group tolerates mediocrity, if they constantly complain and avoid responsibility, well, you're naturally going to mirror that. But if you manage to get into a room where ambition, discipline, and growth are just the baseline expectation, you will automatically rise to meet it. And look, wealth is almost never built in one giant cinematic leap. It's really about patience and highly disciplined steps over a timeline. You start small, you build a habit, you reinvest, and eventually, often years down the line, you finally experience that massive compounding effect. You have to be super impatient with your daily actions, but incredibly patient with your overall results.
Section 5. Designing your life plan, intentionality, and action.
Okay, it's time to pull all of this together into an actionable blueprint for your own life. You absolutely have to default to action here and define exactly what prosperity looks like for you. Because if you don't take the wheel and map out your own goals, the currents of other people's agendas will completely dictate your destiny. You'll literally end up working tirelessly to build someone else's dream simply because you never took the time to architect your own.
Because knowledge on its own, it's basically just entertainment. It definitely doesn't pay the bills. True wealth is generated when you follow this specific cycle. You take an insight or a new skill, you apply it immediately, even when it's scary, and you use it to solve real problems for other people. Information absolutely must be converted into execution.
So ultimately, you really have to treat your time as your ultimate currency. Money can be lost and made back, but spent time is gone forever. Guard it fiercely. And paradoxically, while you're guarding your time, realize that generosity is a practical law of prosperity. Generously offering your value, your unique skills, and your insights is the absolute greatest magnet for long-term opportunity and building incredible relationships.
And it all loops back to this one profound idea from Jim Rohn. Your financial life is a reflection of your philosophy. If you genuinely believe wealth is built on responsibility, patience, continuous growth, and immense value creation, well, your daily decisions will naturally align with those beliefs, and they will inevitably compound into remarkable results over time. I want to leave you with a pretty provocative thought to chew on today. If your bank account is simply a mirror reflecting your inner philosophy, what is your money saying about you right now? Think about it. Take a hard look at your habits, redefine your leverage, and start designing your actual path to true prosperity today.